everyone, and welcome to the Como Factor podcast. I'm Sonal Trivedi.
And I'm Christine Strobush. Change is hard. Transformative change can feel overwhelming and out of reach. When you use the Como Factor as your guide, you will discover that you can accomplish more than you ever thought possible.
Join us on this journey as we discuss real-life, personal, and professional transformation stories to inspire you to take action and achieve true transformation with sustainable results.
This is a special podcast in that we are interviewing our very own creative director, Jacob Guidry. Jacob is not only a teacher and a professional artist, he is also the creative director of the Como Group. He started in journalism. He's majored in electronic media and mass communication with a focus on creative writing and literature. And I can tell you guys, he is a phenomenal addition to the Como Group. So Jacob, welcome.
Thank you, Christine.
We are so happy to have you. So, at the Como Group, we love our books. And you know what they say, readers are leaders. So on that vein, if your life story were to be published in a book, Jacob, what would the book title be? What would the book cover say?
That's a great question. I've definitely thought about this for a while now. And I think my book title, even though I don't exactly want to give it away because I think it's a great one, but I think my book title for my book would be Black Sheep in the Limelight.
Ooh.
And yeah, Black Sheep in the Limelight. And there's a lot of reasons for that, stemming from my youth specifically. But I think the book would basically be my memoir, my story of transformation, if you will, but also trying to really embody that quote that goes around that, be the person you once needed. And it would be an exercise in not only writing my own empowerment, but also hopefully inspiring others who might read the book to connect and relate to it. And, if there's people who, certainly don't feel like me or don't relate to exactly what my life experience has been, it would at least, I think, maybe bridge some empathy between people. And maybe it would just show others that, there's some of us that genuinely feel like black sheep. And if we're thrown into the spotlight or the limelight, then it tends to confuse us even more. And it tends to, throw some weird pressure and sometimes negative experiences on that.
It's so descriptive. I love this. And now you're making me want to read this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I hope to, I've been writing it, I guess, as I've grown. I add to it and I edit it, and I view it mostly as a journal, if you will. And then eventually it will become a full-fledged kind of narrative-driven memoir. But I think truly the black sheep in the limelight idea not only came from my experience with my family, but also my experience with friends and just societal life in general. I've always just felt a little different. And I know that some of my habits and thoughts and actions are different, I can tell. But then also, it's without sounding, I guess, too strange or too conceited or anything. Like, I think I'm a generally likable person. I think people not only tell me that I'm a likable person, but, it just feels like I'm one of the people that can really engage with others and inspire them and teach them and make them feel understood and heard. And so to feel that way in society, but then internally feel confused or angsty or not like you belong, or truly one of a kind. It can be conflicting. It can be kind of confusing, especially for a young person as well.
Yeah. Well, you and I've known each other for about 4 years, and I would definitely say you're a likable guy, and that's an understatement. And you are most certainly one of a kind. So I really look forward to reading your book one day.
I'm happy to share that. Yeah.
And speaking of one of a kind, Jacob also is a one of a kind dancer. We had the pleasure of watching his moves the other day, and you have got some serious talent. So that's pretty cool.
It was kind of like a dance off. I was trying to figure out, are we at a wedding, or are we at like America's Got Talent, or where are we?
It's funny you say that, because I remember thinking about it, and the way I perceived the whole thing was, it wasn't a battle. It wasn't a dance off. It was just two people up there in front of everyone dancing to a song. And I guess, now I can see that it was a dance off, but in the moment I was just doing my thing.
You know what I think it was? I think it was a black sheep in the limelight.
Sure. Yeah.
Very talented. So Jacob, here at the Como Group, as you know, we're talking about transformation a lot, right? We're living it, we're breathing it, and both personally as well as professionally. When we think about transformation, what does it really mean for you?
There's a lot of different ways to think about transformation. Certainly a lot of ways to define it. But for me, transformation is not really a destination or anything. It's more of a way. It's more of a understanding of your abilities and how we change, when we change, why we change. And, I always have ascribed to the idea that identity is fluid. I view myself as water, if you will. There's a lot of people that set up fixed identities for their lives, whether that's belonging to specific political parties or belonging to specific businesses, belonging to specific ideologies, whatever. But personally, I view my human experience as being conscious and being aware and always reflecting. And so for me, transformation is about learning how to transform, not what to transform into necessarily, because the what tends to change with my interests, with my age, certainly, and the people I'm around and things like that. And so I think it's more about building up those foundational blocks of, how do I change? How do I do it effectively? How do I do it authentically? I don't know. Transformation for me is more about the path, more about the way instead of the destination.
Yeah, indeed. And as the saying goes, it's not the end destination. It's really about the journey of how you get there. And I really love that. I love that. So I know that just having known you now for a little while, you have an extremely rich and interesting background, and you've already, been through so much, in the years as you progress through this journey. And if you wouldn't mind getting a little bit personal with our listeners and with us, would you mind sharing a little bit about some of the memories that you have of some of the initial personal transformations, especially in your youth, that you've gone through that has brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually, I think I'm going to share two stories, if that's okay with you. The first one happens when I'm really, really young, probably first grade, maybe 8 years old or so. And I remember being really shy, and not only remember that as myself, but also people telling me I was quiet and shy. And in a way, I still am. I'm definitely observational. I love to listen to what other people are doing and see what other people do. I was a kid in my parents' living room, and was a wide open type of living room. And the way our house was set up is that if you need to go to the kitchen, you have to walk through the living room. If you want to go to the hallway with the bedrooms, you have to go through the living room. So it's definitely a place that there's a lot of traffic, and we had 5 of us living in that house. And being a shy, quiet kid, I loved playing outside. I loved hanging out with people, but I just found my imagination just so much more rich and powerful and exciting. And I would actually set up army men, right, on opposite sides of the living room. So, in the 90s, you have the army men with the green, and then the army men with the tan or the beige, right? And I would split them up, of course. They would be on their own teams and whatnot, and their own sides. But I would set them up in strange ways. And some of them would be, kind of set up as snipers or so up on the mantelpiece. Some of them would be underneath the couch, and they would be the tactic, guerrilla style warfare. They would surprise the enemy, so to say. And then there would be, of course, be the main squad who's set up, but it was all super detailed and everything had a place. And my parents would just watch me do this. And no one asked me to do this. This was just my innate personality, was to give each army man like a character and a backstory and a place and a role. And then they had a role within their group. And then that group served the role of the entire army. And it was just, thinking back on it, it explains a lot about my personality.
You said how old were you? First grade?
Yeah, I was probably first grade, second grade.
Gosh.
I remember coming home from school, and that's all I wanted to do was set up elaborate stories and set up, very detailed and precise placements and things like that. And it explains a lot now looking back at it. But I just wanted to share that story because that is one of the reasons I felt like a black sheep. I mean, yeah, and I would be perfectly fine just, playing in my own imaginary world and creating stories and stuff. Personal transformation there would have to be, as I started to obviously meet more kids my age in school, public school. I had to break out of my shell a little bit. I had to learn how to explain my creativity, or explain that when I'm friends with someone, who they're really competing with is not another friend. It's myself. It's my imagination, my creative world in my head. So if you want to be my friend, you have to be interesting enough to pretty much compete with my imagination. And so, yeah, but I also learned that a lot of people have vivid imaginations, especially kids, but a lot of people just maybe keep it a little quiet. And so was I. And so I learned over time that when I tell my story, when I share who I really am, what happens is that I actually get to learn how other people are and who other people are. And we connect over that more than, something like being on the same soccer team or going to the same school or anything like that. We connect more deeply when we share our real, authentic selves.
Did you know that according to the U.S. Small Business Association, small businesses account for about 44% of U.S. economic activity? Are you one of these small businesses? According to a recent U.S. Chamber of Commerce survey, 58% of small business owners say that they are worried about closing their business permanently due to the global pandemic. Companies, big and small, that survive and thrive in these unprecedented times are those who can effectively adapt and embrace change, meaning they need to transform.
Given the current climate, you may think it difficult or even impossible to achieve true transformation and sustainable results for your business. After all, Business transformation is multifaceted and involves strategically changing your people, culture, processes, and technologies. When you are struggling to survive, the thought of implementing major change can feel overwhelming and out of reach.
At the Como Group, we are here to help and to serve you to grow your business through transformation. We are transformation practitioners who have over 40 years of combined experience in personal and professional transformation. With mindfulness and compassion, we show and we help leaders like you to transform themselves, their businesses, and their lives.
The time for true transformation is now. We have helped other small to mid-sized businesses to grow this year, and we would be delighted to help your business transform and grow too. Connect with us now at thecomofactor.com and schedule your free consultation. So Jacob, you and I have something in common about the journaling. Me too. That's something that I am just absolutely disciplined about. And I find that it truly does help me glean some great insights about myself and how I react to things. So are there any other interests that you have, any other unique, one-of-a-kind, things about Jacob that we should know about?
Well, I mean, kind of speaking about professional transformation and, journaling and things like that, that's actually how I became who I am today and how I got a lot of the jobs that I have had. Around, I don't know, maybe my second year of college or so, I remember being just totally bummed out, like not knowing what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I have to figure out a major. I was doing a lot of English classes and journalism and things like that. And I did that because, again, I've always wanted to tell stories and I've always wanted to share my own story, of course, but also share the stories of other inspiring and incredible people. And, my grandma is actually the one who got me started with writing. And she was the one who would share all kinds of books with me. And, she was, oh, Jacob, you're such a good writer. You should really be a writer. And just always motivating me to do that. And for a while, I was like, yeah, I don't know. But looking back as I get older, I can firmly say that you should listen to what other people, especially the closest people in your room, you should listen to what they're telling you they think you are. Not because you have to be that, but because they're onto something. A lot of the times we forget what we're good at, or we forget what just comes easy to us that doesn't come easy to other people. And so writing and journaling and telling stories was that thing for me, especially when I was younger. And so my grandma was like, well, you should really stick with the journalism. You should really stick with writing stories. I think you should write books and travel and do all that. And I was like, that sounds really great, Grandma. I would love to do that, And so I actually changed my major definitively to mass communications with a minor in creative writing and literature. And that's actually how I got started as a writing tutor. So I got a scholarship to take a 6-month course that was basically a workshop on tutoring and editing writing and proofreading and workshopping writing and sharing writing. And I remember through that I learned a lot, but I also learned that I'm really good at editing. Sometimes you love a phrase or you love a sentence so much, but if it doesn't fit the story or if it doesn't fit exactly the goal or anything, then unfortunately you might have to save it for another piece or another time, something like that. And I got really good at that. And that was all based on what my bosses were telling me. I was working at the University Writing Center at the time, and I was tutoring, and it started out as just an interest and it developed into a profession. It developed into something more. And so when I graduated, ultimately, I actually became a reading and writing instructor. And then I went on to write for commercials, write for short films, write my own stories, my own poetry, my own nonfiction, my own short stories and whatnot, and so it just blossomed. It just bloomed into this other thing. And I think the way I will answer that question is that everything starts out as an interest, as like just piquing a little bit of an interest. You see something or you see someone do something and you're like, hey, that actually looks like something I would want to try. And you should absolutely try it. Whatever that thing is, try it, because you never know what's going to stick. Everyone always thinks like, oh, well, yeah, I'm just going to be this and I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And, again, going back to identity being fluid, interests are part of your identity. Interests. I have had so many interests over just the past 10 years, and not all of them stick, and that's okay. I tried it and I found, not for me. But, the things that do stick is when you can get disciplined and actually make good money and work for that. And, they always say, do what you love, but I view it as like, it's kind of a trifecta of, doing what you're passionate about, but also doing what you can to help people. And then also doing what you can to help yourself, and understand yourself. And so it's kind of this trifecta for me. And so the things that ultimately stick are the things that I try. I either, succeed at, or others tell me, wow, you just have an eye for that, or wow, that is really good, or whatever. It starts out that way, but then with the follow through, it's all about, the discipline and just taking that interest into something else. So I hope I answered that.
You did. You absolutely did. So, Jacob, let's pivot a little bit and talk about your life goals. When you think about, kind of the big rocks that you want to achieve, and I know that early on you said that it's not necessarily about the destination, but really about the journey. But are there any big things that you've set out for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for asking. I guess I'll start with the sort of near-sighted ones. I love teaching and I love helping others. And so I've actually started working on this mental health initiative to quote unquote be the person I once needed, and this idea would potentially be a nonprofit. I mean, I would say that's a big goal, to start a nonprofit and, actually give back to the community and things like that. And so, the mental health initiative would be definitely one of the really big ones. Another would be potentially kind of piggybacking off of the nonprofit or the mental health initiative, and potentially just help pass one piece of legislation. I think especially in America, with our democracy, we can cry about so many things. We can complain about so many structural issues or whatever. But if we're not actually trying to change systems or actually put into place laws and things like that, then we're not really working with the beauty of, the country that we're in. And we're not working with the cohesion of us as community members to work together. And so, maybe something like that. And then I guess lastly would just be kind of broad, but I do have some specifics within it. But really just be a working artist for the rest of my life. Just always be a working creative for the rest of my life. I can't do the whole 9 to 5, the structured in an office kind of thing. Some people can, and good for you. Like, we're all very different people, and that's okay. But for me, I thrive on creativity and having a flow of the process and things like that. And so, being a lifelong creative working artist would just be phenomenal. I would love to have that. And again, it's going to take me all kinds of places. I would love to write my books and publish them. I would love to actually start my own podcast. And, I love helping people. And so, I just want to keep helping them using my own creativity to help push their message or share whatever resources they've got and everything like that.
Well, you have brought a lot of creativity to Como, and we truly appreciate that.
Absolutely. There's so much that that we're doing, even on this podcast, where you hear Sonal and I speaking every week, and Jacob is the guy behind the curtain, making a lot of this happen. So we're grateful very much for the skills and talents and unique perspective that you bring to this on so many different levels, Jacob. So, what's coming next is, your quote about be the person you once needed really rings true to us on so many levels. Even, what Sonal and I are doing, whether it's the podcast, it's engagements, it's the book that Como will be publishing very soon. Really thinking of all that. So as you look back, Jacob, say 10 years ago, if you could write a postcard to yourself from 10 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
If I could write a postcard to myself when I would have been, 18 or so. Oh man, what a pivotal time for me.
What a young guy.
Do what?
What a young guy.
Yeah. I would first and foremost open with, I think probably telling myself to cherish the moments with family that I'm going to lose in the next 10 years. I think I would, and of course at 18, I wouldn't know that, but when I was 18, my father actually had, a really serious heart attack, and so serious that it's called the Widowmaker. And he was out with his school group. He's a teacher as well, and he was out with his school group, and he was out of town. And my mom comes to me and she's crying and she's like, "We have to go now." And I was like, "Okay, what?" And so we drive down to Austin, and miraculously, this is literally a miracle. This man survived a heart attack that usually takes maybe 3 to 8 minutes to kill a person. Yeah, he survived a care flight from Enchanted Rock to Austin to be at the hospital, and he just held on. And he has a phenomenal story about that too. Mm-hmm. But not long later, I lost my grandfather, my dad's father. Not long later after that, lost my grandmother, who was basically my third parent. She moved in the year that I was born. And so she practically raised me as well. And so I would say opening up with cherishing that, because we all always hear that time is so finite, life is short, but it's beautifully short. It's purposefully short. It's very good that it's short. It's very good that we only have a certain amount of time on this planet. Trying to extend it too long doesn't make sense for me. I think it would make way more sense to use every minute and every day to cherish people that I love and spend it being authentically who I am and helping others be authentically who they are. And so, be the person you once needed, not just for yourself, but also for the other people around you. I don't know where we got off from humanity not caring about our neighbors and other things like that, but I wish we would get back to that, because that's what's going to help us all. And so, I think I'll just end it there. Really, a postcard about cherishing your time with the people that you have, not trying to extend it too long, not trying to force anything or control it, but just trying to cherish it and be one with it.
That's beautiful, Jacob. It really is. And in the end, it's about It's about the people in our world. And I love how you keep talking about, this impact and helping others. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much, Jacob, for sitting down with us today and getting so personal and giving us a glimpse into your life about your personal and professional transformation. We know that you definitely have the Como factor. And for our listeners, when you work with the Como group, you also reap the benefits of our creative director, Jacob, who is simply amazing. Until next time, for more tips and tools, as well as to see all the episode highlights from this podcast, please visit us at thecomofactor.com.